Hello students, Teacher Mas is here once again at camscienceclasses.net. I'm here to take you through Graham's law of diffusion of gases. This is a continuation of what we have been doing before. So I want us to do today questions, revision some 2 questions on Graham's law. The first question that we're going to handle today reads, 100 cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide diffuses through a porous plate in 30 seconds. 100 cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide diffuses through a porous plate in 30 seconds. How long will it take 150 cubic centimeter of nitrogen dioxide to diffuse across the same plate under similar conditions? So you remember Graham told us that under the same conditions of temperature and pressure, and here the conditions have been kept constant, similar conditions. But we are having 100 cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide against 150 cubic centimeter of nitrogen dioxide. So I'll use method 1, where we are going to compare their times of diffusion. Step 1, we're going to look at the relative molecular mass of carbon dioxide. So this is a carbon and 2 atoms of oxygen. Carbon is 12, then we have 2 into 16, and this gives us 12 plus 32, and our relative molecular mass will be 44. We shall look for the relative molecular mass of nitrogen dioxide. So nitrogen dioxide, we have nitrogen and 2 atoms of oxygen. Our nitrogen is atomic mass 14 and 2 atoms of oxygen into 16. So we get 14 plus 32, and this gives us 46. This gives us 46. So the time of diffusion of carbon dioxide over the time of diffusion of nitrogen dioxide will be equal to the square root of their relative molecular masses. So relative molecular mass of carbon dioxide to relative molecular mass of nitrogen dioxide. But this will only be the case if their volumes compare. So we have to make their volumes to compare. We have to make their volumes to compare. Now we were given 100 cubic centimeters of carbon dioxide. So 100 cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide took 30 seconds to diffuse through the porous membrane. So how long will it take 100? How long will it take 150 cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide to diffuse? So when we cross multiply, we have 150 multiplied by 30 over 100, and this gives us 45 seconds. So if we replace this in this equation here, we have the time of carbon dioxide, which is now 45 seconds, time for carbon dioxide over the time for nitrogen dioxide. That is now what the question wants us to solve. How long will it take? So how long will it take nitrogen dioxide to diffuse through the same porous pot or porous membrane? Here we have our relative molecular mass of carbon dioxide we had calculated up here, which is 44, and the relative molecular mass of nitrogen 4 oxide we calculated, we got it as 46. So I'm going to key in the values. 44 divided by 46, our answer is 45 over the time of nitrogen 4 oxide will get the square root of 0.95652. The square root of 95652. So if I get the square root of the answer, then what we are getting, the square root of the answer, we have 45 over the time of nitrogen 4 oxide will give us a 0.9780. So what is the time for nitrogen 4 oxide? Cross multiply. So I have the time for nitrogen 4 oxide being 45 over 0.9780. So 45 divided by the answer, I get it as 46.01136. So this